The court has not declared any party a majority in this house. Read the judgment carefully. Don't speak from what you are hearing in the air. That is number one. Number two, order, Wanjala. I'm just giving you guidance so that you don't speak irrelevantly. We have gone back to the status quo ante. Convince the House as to its majority, the Speaker will make a finding. On the fact, David Ocheng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the three judges for their judgment of last week, Mr. Speaker. We got a new constitution that we keep testing and that keeps guiding us on how we run our affairs as a country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under the law we passed in this parliament on coalition making, Mr. Speaker, it is presumed that there will be coalitions, people will leave coalitions, some will enter coalitions, Mr. Speaker, and so it is presupposed that in any term of parliament, Mr. Speaker, one side will be a minority today, tomorrow that side may be a majority, because this is a moving target, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as to who is minority or majority is not cast in stone, and therefore the finding by the court, Mr. Speaker, that the decision on who is majority and minority in the 13th parliament, it was decided on 8th of August 2022 is wrongful, Mr. Speaker. I disagree with it because, Mr. Speaker, today, if Ford Kenya and ANC that was left Kenya Kwanza, Mr. Speaker, and joined Azimio will have more members than the remaining UDM, Mr. Speaker. And in that regard, Azimio will be the majority party, Mr. Speaker, and will be called upon to make that decision as Speaker, and will decide as so. So I disagree with the judge's finding that the decision on who is majority and minority was made once. It cannot be made once. It depends on the facts of the day in this house. If, for example, tomorrow I'll be heard, I'm sure I'm going to be heard. I'm sure I'm going to be heard. I will be heard, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, if today in Azimio, if Wiper left and Jubilee left and UDM left, Mr. Speaker, Azimio will have only ODM with 85 members, Mr. Speaker. It will be a minority. So the decision on who is minority and majority, Mr. Speaker, moves like a pendulum depending on who has left which coalition. So you cannot tell us that that decision is made once only in the election, Mr. Speaker. And that's why the judges are wrong on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, very important, Mr. Speaker, it's very important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the day you made this decision, Mr. Speaker, the day you decided on this matter, you had facts before you. You had evidence before you telling you that UDM has left Azimio. MDG has left Azimio. UDM, MDG, NCPP, PA, you had those facts before you. You couldn't ignore those facts. You can't ignore them. Even in this, Mr. Speaker, you made a finding, Mr. Speaker, that the courts have not said that Azimio is a majority. The courts have said, go back and decide. And so, Azimio must today convince you.
Yes. Morogara, I'll give you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what you need to decide on is the wording of Article 108 of the Constitution and the Standing Order number 19 of our Standing Orders. Of importance is the use of the verb to be in that particular article and in that particular standing order. The minority or majority party is the party at that particular moment. And therefore, it is not cast on stone, as the court tried to tell Kenyans, that majority and minority were determined on the election date. The words used, the tense used is, which means from time to time as the issue comes into question. Therefore, the court was wrong, and this is one of the... Yes, I respect the decision of the court, but on appeal, we will be arguing that the three judges were wrong. because they actually did not take into consideration the use of that verb to be by having it in the present tense, that it is from time to time. And one example I can give is this. As at before the ruling, the majority was the Kenya Kwanza coalition. If the parties like UDA actually left Kenya Kwanza, does it continue to be the majority? No. It loses the status because that is determined from time to time by how many members are in the party or how many members are in a coalition. The court actually overreached when they went to interpret it this way, and we shall be taking these matters on appeal. But today, because the course of action of the 6th of October 2022 is spent, we require from you, Honorable Speaker, you give us another ruling using the verb to be. Present tense is who is the majority and minority today as we speak in Parliament. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Maklap.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want members protect me from these members. Mr. Speaker, this decision of the court, I find it belated. Mr. Speaker, for one reason. This decision was based at a freezing point. The freezing point was on August 9, after elections, after what was called pre-election coalition agreements. After the 8th and after we were sworn in, Mr. Speaker, there was again post-election agreements. Meaning, Mr. Speaker, that the formation of parliament and the composition of parliament and in terms of parties and coalitions is a moving average. Mr. Speaker, is a moving average that will be determined by interests of members of parliament and the parties that form that particular coalition, Mr. Speaker. You are aware, Mr. Speaker, during your determination, at that time, Mr. Speaker, parties like Jubilee had some members moving to Kenya Kwanza. There were some members, Mr. Speaker, UDM had already changed the position, Mr. Speaker. So even if manyora have changed their position now, Mr. Speaker, you need to ensure there is a post-election agreement, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are determining, Mr. Speaker, is a fundamental thing that will guide Parliament for many years. Mr. Speaker, we must determine how many post-election coalition agreements that shall continue to be there to guide the majority and minority in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. In that way, Mr. Speaker, we shall have Parliament that are made of people who are very sober, that they know where they are and where they sit, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in a parliamentary system, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter where you sit here in Parliament. It is only a tradition. It is only a tradition, Mr. Speaker. But in terms of determination, Mr. Speaker, of minority party or majority party rests on your case, Mr. Speaker, and rests on existing post-election agreements that have continued to be there, Mr. Speaker. So it is over to you, Mr. Speaker. Based on those, Mr. Speaker, this is a continuous moving average and it will continue to change, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Donya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The fact that, Mr. Speaker, you have told us that we debate and you are going to rule on this one. I ask myself, the fact that Azimio didn't win the election of the Speaker, who are the majority then? That is our question. If we are debating, if you didn't win, we didn't win. I'm in Azimio. We didn't win the position of the Speaker, who are the majority then. That is, yes, that is the answer. You should answer. Who won? Who won? Put the question, Mr. Speaker. Who won the position of the Speaker? Then, who are the majority? Then, we should be debating on other things, Mr. Speaker. We should help our people. Like Kisi, we have no water. We have no electricity. We are discussing things that have been shot straight. Who was the speaker then when we came to Parliament? The first time on 29th of September, who was elected as the speaker? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wamboka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My contribution is as follows. First, I'll speak as an elder from Luya community. No, you relax.
Order.
I'll speak as an elder from the Luya community that let's keep the speaker out of this issue. If you get to the position